I interviewed Brother Polite. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not. Um, a conscious figure out here in LA. And one of the things that he brought up that we discussed was
it's a black man or black woman who's doing relatively good. They have their own car, they have a nice house, they have nice clothes, they manage to do good by themselves and for themselves. And matter of fact, they even doing good for their family. How might he be able to, or how might she be able to do these things void of master? See, this is a person who hasn't gotten out much. So all they know is we get food, clothing, and shelter from master. So they will have to surmise that the only way the free black man or free black woman got their food, clothing, and shelter must be from the same construct. And this is the conflict that's at hand today, because people have to believe there has to be a catch. There has to be some brown nosing. There has to be some kind of compromise. In order for somebody to succeed, they had to do something wrong to get it. And I understand, because being in extreme poverty, living in destitute areas, going to schools that's dilapidated, it incurs so much stress that it makes you give up.
Before we say historically, understand that we only talk about a small chunk in history.
in America.
Black people were ancient and had way more money than any white person has ever existed. So I just need us to be careful with saying historically, because historically that's a flawed statement.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right.
In recent America.
In America.
Okay.
In America, period. That had to happen in order for a black person to become rich. There was a white person that cut that check. So when they see someone who appears to be self-made, they can't accept that. So therefore, they create this conspiracy theory because they can't come to grips themselves that this person actually got there by hard work and their own intelligence.
Yeah. I think that is flawed, and I don't think that that's the case. In a lot of cases, it's just the things that matter to us on television. You know, we look at it from that perspective, but there's so many businesses and so many people that built themselves up from nothing. You know, I even look at most of us as Southern artists and people who are from the Bay. You know, or anybody for that matter who was in music. They didn't like our music in the first place. Most of us were, if not millionaires, very wealthy. Slim Thug, perfect example of that, was was possibly a millionaire way before. A lot of us were way successful and literally, like we were talking about today, we talked about a lot of positive stuff before the interview. Like, dude, we were running healthy businesses and we thought getting a deal was the way to go. But most of us who came from places that were not historically hot, we had to build our own businesses and our own situations regardless anyway, because they wasn't signing us regardless. The only time they started really signing Southern groups when they saw that we were gonna, basically build empires without them. A lot of cases they give us money not because they want to sign us or they want us to be successful. They sign us in a lot of cases to get us the fuck out of the way. Because if we would have really realized, I think all of us that were independent, probably if we would have kept going in about 4 years, we would have been something that possibly could have, I can't imagine, bro, knowing what I know now, but that's just flawed. And a lot of that has to do with the way that we view ourselves. That's the same thing that I was telling you, just about low quality. You know, a lot of people look at themselves through the eyes of white supremacists and they don't know it. You know, anytime you see a black man, there has to be something negative about it. Or, you know, you'll pay, $4,000 for a pair of Gucci, whatever, but get mad because a black man wants you to buy his shoes for $500. Even if it is bad, why do we have to say something? Like, that's one of my criticisms about most hip hop blogs, most hip hop, anything that says hip hop. I said, this is one of the first interviews I did with you recently. I was like, everything that says hip hop for the most part doesn't do anything but degrade hip hoppers. Tell all of their business. It's all negative, 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 negative. And that's the case with most things with black folks. But what I do need us to do is stop concentrating on those 2 or 3 comments. Like, I notice myself, I even do that. There will be a million people that say, David Banner, you dope. David Banner, glad to have you back. And one motherfucker be like, oh man, the snare wasn't right on track 7. And that's all I think about all fucking, that motherfucking snare on track 7 was dope. You know, I don't even, and a lot of them people be trolls anyway, bro. It's like, they were talking, I read this magazine where they was like, a lot of white supremacists were getting putting black faces on Twitter and just keeping up a whole bunch of drama. You know, and then some people are just haters, but a lot of those people don't even know why they hate themselves. So we have to stop really paying attention to them, bro. They don't really matter to me in the greater scheme of things.
I agree. Now, you said, I think it was on the Breakfast Club interview, you said that, why did Martin Luther King and Malcolm X hurt the movement more than help?
What I said was, this is what I said, is we have a tendency to follow people instead of what's right, instead of the cause, instead of the movement. I'm going to ask you this question and just answer it for me. When Malcolm and Martin died, for the most part, what happened to the momentum of the movement?
Slow down.
It stopped.
Stopped.
For the most part. It didn't slow down. It stopped. And for the most part. And no one person is greater than the movement or the cause. So in that way, that's what I mean, is that we put too much pressure on the people. You know, people tell me that all the time, David Banner, we think you should be a leader. And I say, well, look at what y'all done to our leaders. People kill Malcolm, Martin, Pop, everybody else that we love. And we don't do shit as a whole. Whether white, black, or indifferent, we allow America to ridicule and slaughter and emasculate especially black leaders. And nobody does anything. Everybody just sits back like there's a roach in the room. So when I said that, what I meant was this, is to have a group of people who matter that much to the movement. Wouldn't the smart thing to do would be to cut off the head? And when you cut off the head, what happens? The body falls. So as it pertains to the movement as a whole, their existence as it pertains to the movement was more of a detriment. Because at least before them, the movement was moving, right or wrong. And it was moving at a pretty cool pace. But when they killed our leaders, and Malcolm X changed my whole entire life, bro. I pissed somebody off one time. They asked me if there was anybody in history that I would want to meet. Who would it be? Anybody. And I said Malcolm. And well, what about the religious? I don't know if they really existed or not. I know Malcolm existed. That's who I would want to speak to. And I'll just say that, you know, if we look at where we are right now, the death of those two men are partially why we are where we are.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I mean, because since then, there hasn't been a prominent black leader. I guess maybe Tupac would probably be the next one in line after that. And then that's pretty much it.
Well, what I'll tell you is this. I think there has been leaders. But I said this in one of my songs on the God Box, bro. Oh, and by the way, I have a tendency not to do this. Go and purchase the God Box. Don't stream my shit, buy my shit. I don't want fractions of pennies. I didn't spend fractions of pennies. I need you to go purchase it. It was so amazing. The first week the album came out, we were #1 on iTunes. So I thank everybody for the support. But I look at how much people marvel at us and love us. Go and support. Y'all have already done a great job. Keep going. I had to say that. Because I get emotional and I don't pay the bills. What was I talking about?
You were talking about Malcolm X, the movement.
Oh, I was saying that there are people who have the potential and have led on that level. But what I will say, the thing that we have to understand is that I said it on AMI. Like, why would these kids want to be leaders? When I go to elementary schools, and I ask kids, historically, when you're a black man and you stand up, what happens to you? These are little children. Guess what they say? You die. You don't think these kids know that shit? Stand up and be black and successful at the same time. I had a history teacher at the University of Maryland. This man showed me something so dope. He listed, I think it was 12 or 14 characteristics of the slave master. It was, handsome, well-spoken, just all of these different qualities. He said, if you're a black man and you have any 3 of these qualities and you're a public figure, something's going to happen to you. You might not die, but something's going to happen to you. And he used Tupac. He said, handsome, well-spoken, smart. Dead. And so these children know that. And I said that on AMI. Why would you want to be a king when you see what happens to kings? You know what I'm saying? So, like, if we really want to truly see a leader or a movement, we have to support. But I think one of the things that we won't admit is that most of us, although we may hate white supremacy or we may hate racism, there are a lot of people that benefit off of it, and benefit off of America being exactly the way that it is. That's why I tell people, I don't think our leader is going to come in a lot of cases from somebody who's famous or rich, because they made their money with it being exactly the way it is right now.
That's deep.